and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is a show my people. Believe our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that must be happen under God blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We got to keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Everybody got to put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait? It's a time calling. It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We got to keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody got to put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Believe our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that must be happen under God blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We got to keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody got to put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB.
All right, welcome. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's a Thursday morning. It's the 20th day of February 2025. I'm Nuri Mohammed, and we welcome you to the program this morning. We have a full slate, guests coming in very early. I think we have 2 sets of guests this morning, so it should be a very exciting show. But before we get into the main course, of course, we bring you up to date on the weather. We have Miss Francisca Wellington this morning as our forecaster, and then we bring you the update from our news center. Miss Wellington?
Good morning. Weather prevails and will support sunny skies with a few cloudy spells today and cloudy skies at times tonight. Showers will be isolated except for slightly more over northern and coastal areas tonight. In the outlook for Friday and Friday night, a few showers will affect most areas of the country. Winds today will blow from the east at 5 to 15 knots and seas will be choppy. Low tides will occur at 8:12 this morning and 11 o'clock tonight. High tides follow at 2:36 this afternoon and 5:20 tomorrow morning. Temperatures this afternoon will peak at 78 Fahrenheit up in the Maya Mountains, 85 along the coast and 88 inland. The moon will set at 11:10 this morning and the sun at 5:56 this evening. In the sargassum forecast, sargassum continued to gradually increase over the area, with modern impacts expected along coastal municipalities during the next few days. And that's the latest from the Belize Weather Bureau. Do have a pleasant day.
The first private Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
The challenges facing the sugar industry up north have now led to a stoppage in the crop due to a lack of sugar cane supply to the mill. Belize Sugar Industries have reported farmers are having difficulties harvesting their cane because of weather conditions that have led to muddy fields and a bad state of sugar roads, which have been neglected for decades. At this time, the mill requires 14 tons of cane to produce 1 ton of sugar. Additionally, the mill does not have sufficient bagasse to continue processing the cane. This is because Belcogen, the plant powers the mill and also provides steam. BIS's Communication and Government Affairs Officer William Neal shared that the continuing rains since October have greatly contributed to this situation.
The roads have been in very terrible condition and the fields have been in terrible conditions. This is not a good time to be harvesting because obviously the amount of mud and the difficulty that farmers have to extract their cane makes it extremely difficult. So you spend far more energy in terms of physical energy and also gas, etc., to actually bring cane to the factory. Once they're at the factory, we have to really deal with more than double the amount of mud that the factory can afford to process at this juncture. So it's really not a good time to actually continue with the cane season, simply because the challenges at the farm level and at the factory level are just extraordinary. The cost in terms of what we're spending to try and extract sugar from cane that has very poor quality at this juncture, simply because the rains have been so consistent, makes it, just not viable for us to continue with the cane crop at this juncture. And I think we just have to understand that there's a new normal given the challenges of climate change. We cannot continue to proceed with business as normal where, come December, we start the crop and we try and go through regardless of what this situation is. I think the new normal might also include taking pauses when there's excessive rains. The impact on cane quality alone is something that is worrisome. And then the impact on the factory is also, costly because you're grinding mud more than you're grinding sugar. And the dirt, when it gets into the cogs of the factory itself, create breakdown and wear and tear that is unusual.
The hope is that during the stoppage that started on Tuesday evening, the fields will dry out and allow the government to do some road repairs. At the same time, the factory itself will conduct some maintenance. Along with the effects of the Furazum and the impacts of climate change on cane quality, Neil says that at this time it is difficult to tell what the fields and earnings will be this season. What the factory currently knows is that the sugar cane delivery quotas are not being met. Therefore, tremendous losses are expected. Neil spoke about the concern of meeting external contracts.
The domestic market is small. What we have concerns about is obviously how we make the sugars necessary for our contracts that we have. It's still early in the crop, but what we have to do is make an assessment. We've talked about the cane price estimates, and we've looked at production shortfalls. But what we're trying to do at this point is just decide what will be the best thing at this juncture to make sure that we're not grinding just for grinding's sake, and that farmers are not trying to just pull out the cane to just say they delivered their cane. If there's no sugar in the cane, we're wasting time, resources, money, and so are the farmers. So this is the best solution at this point. We can't project in the next 6 months how much sugar we'll have. What we're hoping for is some improvement in the weather, and we'll continue to work on the mill side to try and extract as much sugar as we possibly can. Because this is a sugar factory, we have to do the best. When Steve was talking about grinding rates, we have to try as much as possible. When we have a lot of mud, it slows down our grinding rate completely, but it doesn't mean that we're not expending more energy and more effort to remove the sugar. So it's more costly. So it's all around. It's just a very convoluted system, and all we can say at this point is that we have to do the best that we can. And right now, we think the best decision as an industry is to take that pause.
BSI is currently starting to use cane cleaning equipment, and they are considering a mud belt. The industry stakeholders will monitor the situation and decide when to resume the crop. The hope is that an approaching cold front will speed up the drying process. Since the start of the crop in December last year, 243,000 tons of cane have been ground. With that, 16,000 tons of sugar have been produced. The factory says that it is about 90,000 tons of cane behind what is expected at this time of year. On a side note, Belcogen will not be supplying energy to the national electric grid during this pause. The Belize Corporate Companies Affairs Registry has rejected an application from the Christian Workers Union, CWU, to learn the company's ownership of Port of Belize Limited. The reason provided by the registry was, quote, as per client call, end of quote. This means that the registered agent for PBL denied the closure of the information as to who is the beneficial owner and stakeholders of the company. This is a notable development given that in December of 2023, the government of Belize announced that it had purchased the port from the Ashcroft Company. The CWU sought to get the information from the registry after they were told by the leadership of PBL that they cannot get access to the company's financials because no audited financials are available. The CWU is seeking this information as they negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement for their stevedore members. 5 members of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, EBC, on Tuesday voted for the 2 factions of the United Democratic Party to use the traditional UDP red, but with differentiating symbols for the upcoming general elections that are set for March the 12th. The factions are to submit their choice of symbols by nomination date, which is Monday, February 24th. Both factions claim the color red as they contend that they are the rightful UDP amid their raging internal dispute. The commission had met on February the 5th and the 12th to discuss the matter, but no vote had been taken as they waited to get preference from the two factions in writing. Voting finally occurred on Tuesday, and out of the 6 options, 4 of the 5 commissioners chose that both factions will get the red, but with differing symbols. Sheena Pitts, the chairperson for the Tracy Panton-led faction of the UDP, clarified that the usage of the symbols has not yet been finalized. On the decision of all the UDP candidates to use red, she said it was the rightful thing.
It is my understanding that a vote was taken 4-2, that the color red would be able to be used by all UDPs, and thereafter an invitation was made to consider a symbol to distinguish the UDP standard bearers going up for elections. So that's my understanding of what occurred and the decision and where we're now at. And as I understand it, what remains outstanding is an indication from the UDP persons to inform the Elections and Boundaries Commission whether or not they would use a symbol in addition to the color red.
Does Ms. Panton see this as a win, that you guys can use the color red?
Well, we are UDPs, and the color for UDP is red. And it's just that, in my view, that is not a win. That is the rightful thing.
For his part, the chairman of the Moses Shine Borough-led UDP, Michael Perifit, told the media that such discussions are premature, and he explained why.
On nomination day, people who want to contest the election will go there and put the colors that they want to be associated with, whether pink, yellow, whatever. If there is any issue with colors or symbols on that day, then the Elections and Boundaries Commission will have to make a decision as to how they will differentiate between the different people wanting to be associated with similar or the same symbols, for example. So it's very premature to say who will get which color or who will get what symbol, because there is no conflict. Nothing has ripened for them to make a decision. It could very well be that different people agree to use a different color, and for example, so you could say red, maybe only one group of people decide to use red, maybe the other side decides not to use red. So it's premature to determine that at this point until nomination day, when the different candidates go up and say, listen, I am running in this division with this color. Sir, we're not there yet, so we have to wait.
Sir, but the commission did make a determination yesterday saying that both factions will be allowed to use red, but with symbols to differentiate.
I think it would be more fair to say that the commission has indicated what they have in mind that they may do in the event that there's a conflict.
But you may agree that it's highly unlikely that either one of these factions decide to use another color.
Well, I don't know. We have to wait until nomination day.
Can you speak on your side?
I have seen two political parties come together and beat the PUP in 1993. So you don't know.
You're saying that there's maybe space for mediation still?
What I'm saying is that we won't know anything until 24th of February on what nomination day. We won't know anything about colors or symbols or anything like that until then.
Perifit says that he believes that Belizeans would not be so easily confused as to not know who they rather vote for. But he added that should they need to use symbols to differentiate, they would have ample time to educate their constituents.
That's why you have, I believe, sample ballots. So if Paul Lopez is running and he run a sandfly or a mosquito, you have the sample ballot with his name with the X next to him. So I imagine that if he goes to campaign, he will distribute his sample ballot and say, hey, I like the Makala. Say, just look for the Makala and vote for me. I really don't see the difficulty. Now, of course, options are open for judicial review of the commission. The UDP would have to discuss any decision made by the Elections and Boundaries Commission and where are our options. However, some may believe, and they have a point, that at this point there are some things far more important than that. Far more important than which shade of gray you want to use. There are crime issues, there are cost of living issues, $3 billion in debt, and you the worry about whether or not you don't want Pat Liquor or you don't want Jerry Shepard. I mean, it really doesn't, I think it's much ado about nothing, in my view.
Despite the new Cyber Crime Act, which was introduced to allow for the prosecution of offenses online acts such as cyberbullying, there are still many examples of cyberbullying occurring on social media, including now as election seasons draw near, general elections draw near. Renee Wentz, a marriage and family therapist, spoke of how vicious online attacks have been since the election date was announced.
We have public figures, which of course are always going to draw, they're always going to draw some kind of attention. And in some realms, you know, public figures are open to that and they're going to have expectations. With the election coming up, we're seeing more and more of that, and there's expectations that they're going to have that, and they're open to that. You know, the libel, laws about libel for public figures are different than they are for individual people. They have less protection than individual people do. But when it comes to individual people who are maybe just thinking about running for politics or who are just starting to run for politics, the attacks on those people are very vicious. And I think we saw it recently with one person in particular that was starting to run, and the floodgates kind of opened on that person, and it was a woman candidate. And pages themselves were bullying her, as well as individual people. And in fact, other women who have purported themselves to be the champion of women have come out, and I've been surprised by some of these women who have gone ahead and bullied this individual in public as well.
Wentz explained that there are also passive ways that people may engage in cyberbullying without realizing it.
It can even go so much as, like you said, sometimes it's just sharing, or sometimes it's just writing, just putting a laugh emojis on the comments, or laughing after what somebody else has said, and participating in that kind of thing, or sharing the memes that other people are putting up.
All right, that's our news package for this morning. There's more news coming up throughout the day, actually. One at 12 o'clock and one at 3 o'clock, and a full news broadcast at 5:15. All this on CREM Radio. Here on XTV, we bring you the full news broadcast at 6 o'clock this evening. It's now 3 minutes to 7 o'clock. Very short break. We'll be back. We'll open the phone lines, and we begin the conversation for today.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information. Local, regional, and international.
All right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on a Thursday morning. I'm Nuri Mohammed, and our phone lines are now open. I do have guests coming in a little bit after 7:30, and we do have a guest also after 8. But the phone lines are open now at 280-5848, and please feel free to welcome any of your calls at this time. We do feel that the most important part of what we do here every weekday morning is to hear you and to get the feedback from you. I want to correct myself based on what Sister Sandra has been trying to get across to us, and she's such a wordsmith. She's been telling us over and over that we've been using the word redistricting, and in fact we have 31 divisions. And so if there are to be some readjustment according to our Constitution, then it should be redivisioning as opposed to redistricting. And maybe that redistrict came from the use of an old language, but certainly we don't vote according to districts. Districts are the 6 municipalities that we have, the 6 areas in which the country has been divided in districts. But these are not, if we do a redistricting exercise, then we are talking about a different geography than if we're talking about division. And 31 divisions is in fact what we have. So just a thought, because she's been driving that point home on several of her calls. All right, here's our first call. Well, welcome, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother. Welcome.
Yeah, brother, good morning. That's a quick thing, huh?
Yes,
the brother came from outside and the fight to we fight. And it's not the lion, huh?
Yes, Ram Logan.
That's the word the one used, huh?
Yes,
We come from outside and the fight to we fight. Well, lion here should have been lining up to fight for us. And yet this one to the brother, he's been ridiculed by the PUP. Very questionable character kind of thing.
Yeah.
But who are the PUPs that ridicule him to the up their statement? Who are they? Many are the lions on the side of questionable characters also in this country. But this brother come here, the fight that we fight, are we ready to bring our down? And this has happened to me many times. Even when the brother will bring out the booklet with the traffic vehicle safety thing, I don't worry about that because my neighbor take the booklet. Just because the man of a Rastaman,
I hear you.
If I look at them, if I want you to look like them, and you know, in their circle, you are not here.
Yeah.
They are always ready to bring down the messenger. They don't listen to the messenger. It really sickening.
Yeah.
So I get on national TV, and this time it's a Charles Usher. I really ridicule the man that questionable character and that. But it's not up to me right. They say, then brother, they put up their self, you vote for them. Something is really wrong in this country. And when me and you would have said, out there, they look pretty good, everybody pursue you, all kind of thing. But when they do it, they can't get to it. They're about the lie, look like. When we talk about riots and things from a lot of stations, but them man that are in a questionable character, they're still in this country. Not that they get rotten rich off of the fact that the poor people right now with this case, and they get big pay out of the weed box. Big pay to fight against weed. Then they use we own money to fight against us. How worse it can get, Nuri? How worse it can get? The Constitution said it there. That the redivisioning should be even as possible as the Constitution. I don't mean, I don't you. They said it's not our Constitution. And yet, the Soviet brother, they fight against that. They fight against it. Put the high-paid liars to fight against that to no one. Just so they could continue with this election today. Get in our power. Today, rape us. That's the way that the whole situation. And that's why many times when I say I'm in my Bible, and I say, I don't join no organization. If I not tell me what to say, you have no consensus, we go out there together and put no, I don't deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't deal with that. But the lot of advantage that take place in this country, I get worse. I'm telling you, brother, we are linked to see. Nobody get up there and think, and everybody gonna agree campaign, but you are thinking of this country, my brother. Serious market, serious problem that I run into. It's very wrong right now in our politics. The lone family member, no politics, lone brother, sister, uncle, neighbor, niece, grandpa, wife, in land, and lone and application. I don't know a name like you and me there out there. We name not the up there town. You have nothing. We hear we good for. We'll t-shirt there, get out there all the way up and truck, and that's what we good for. After that, we don't good for nothing. This is the way the people of the state. In the town, many of them people they out there, but I tell you, they're punished, you know, when you watch them out there, they're punished. But they continue to get brainwashed. And the fire that they walk into, and they ain't know. Sorry to them, but the fire that they walk into, and this country they walk into fire. With the foreign policy, I think, we are getting about serious problem. But you take care, brother, and God bless.
All right, man. Same to you, my brother. Number here is 2805848, and you're welcome to call, and we don't disturb you. As long as you stay on the right, you know, you are free to say and criticize anybody that you want, as long as you stay on the right. You know, we can't stop you if you go off and jeopardize our license legally. But if you call and you want to say what you want to say, we welcome you to call and to say what you want to say. We will not censor you in any way. Welcome, caller. Welcome.
Good morning, Nuri. This is Sandra Coy.
Good morning,
I'm
Ms. Coy.
calling to clarify an understanding that I arrived at yesterday. Number one, I didn't catch all the news or whatever, and most began to speak about this this case before the court with Mr. Enriquez, and of course in between there, the Lease Peace Movement, I think was mentioned as the in connection with the original involvement. Well, I didn't know what he was talking about, so I called and asked, well, what transpired to lead to all of whatever it is you're saying? And so he decided to read a press item. And what I gathered from the press item was that in the case of Mr. Enriquez's matter before the court, a ruling had come down yesterday, but the day before, I think, about which I knew nothing. And that the ruling was dealing with not the substantive matter of Mr. Enriquez's claim, but with the request for an interim order, an injunction to stop the elections. I am presuming to allow the legal process to go through. But the press release didn't give details. So when, in the course of the conversation, at $30,000, I understood it to be a cost that the court had imposed on Mr. Enriquez. And of course I was appalled and expressed the opinion that it was an exemplary penalty. That is, a penalty imposed to stop everybody else from attempting such a process, similar to what happened on the slave plantation, where they would cut off your hand or cut off your foot or kill your baby in front of you so that nobody else tried. Whatever it was, you were supposed to have done the infraction. To give an example, well, it turns out that I still wasn't satisfied satisfied after the conversation ended, so I decided to research it further. And in the process of researching it further, I found out, well, to start with, I still have to read the ruling. I have got a copy of the ruling, but I haven't had a chance to read that yet. But that there was no cost awarded by the court. But there was an indication that there may be, in accordance with a rule, I don't remember the number of the rule, whether it's Rule 52 or whatever, cited. So, I don't know if other people had the misunderstanding I had. I had a misunderstanding that a cost had been attached to the interim process, and it was $30,000. But that is not correct. As I said, I still have to read the ruling. So you see, if things are not relayed explicitly and precisely, it can lead to gross misunderstanding on the part of the listener. And I'm a very careful listener. I don't want to misunderstand anything that's being told to me. So I called in to make that correction, to make that observation in connection with the matter yesterday. I want to go to something else, Nuri.
May I say something?
It's a case in the CCJ that dealt with a election petition matter from Dominique.
Ms. Sandra, let me say that Mr. Enriquez will be one of our guests this morning. And
He will
be able to clarify that matter. Now, what's your next point? What's your next point?
Well, we very need clarity. In the case of Dominica, they took a case before the CCJ on elections. Now remember, Dominica has been attempting to deal with electoral reform for quite some time. Against the backdrop of observers, just as we have had, who come into the country, give a little observation, go about their business, and nothing gets done about their observation, if they give the proper observation any at all. Because not one of the group that has come to believe has said that the ballot paper is not secret. None of them have said that. Now, in the case of Dominica, the observers pointed out problematic areas, but no change came. So it came to pass that the Dominicans reached a point where, desperate for electoral reform, the opposition boycotted the elections and the populace boycotted the elections. 70% of them did not turn up at the polls. 70% of them didn't turn up at the polls. We are not there. We don't have that level of political conscientization. I would dare say that Dominica is a special case because of one of the sons of their soil, Rosie Douglas. Not somebody I particularly like, but I knew him. And
what was the name you used? What was the name?
Rosie Douglas.
Oh, Rosie,
Roosevelt Bernard Douglas, right?
That's my buddy, man.
Was his entire name? Pardon?
That was my buddy.
Oh, he was your buddy?
Yes.
He wasn't my buddy. I knew him long before you, I think.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. Yeah.
I have a whole set of criteria by which I judge men, and he didn't mean much up to them at all. But anyway, he was a political activist in the region and of international acclaim.
Right.
Rudy was involved in everybody. He understood John Donne's position. No man is an island entire of himself. Each man is a part of the name, so therefore ask not for whom the bells toll, was committed to justice across the planet. He was even involved in the Irish struggle, in the IRA struggle.
Yeah, he was.
He was involved in that.
Yes.
Anyway,
I met him in Libya.
Dominica now challenges it and takes it to the CCJ level. And at the CCJ level, the CCJ ruling stated that, among other conclusions, that because of the taints, T-A-I-N-T-S, in the electoral process of Dominica, Dominica ought not to go to an election until those taints were corrected, and they would have to be corrected by legislative action. So what do you think they would have to tell Belize? We haven't. Nuri, you can't come and tell a thinking person like myself that you're going to build a just society, equal, just distribution of resources, but your electoral system is unjust. You can't tell me that, because I know what maybe the rest of my people don't know, that is a contradiction. It's an utter contradiction. How are you going to build a just system on an unjust foundation? And the electoral system is the foundation. Is the foundation. If you want a modern, just, democratic, fair, free society, you need to address the matter of this way your election is structured. And if that is unjust, then guaranteed your society is unjust. So and who is that for? The politicians, yes, but the people too. When Derek Gateman won in the municipal elections of 1983, the results, I believe, came out sometime between 12 and, 3, whatever in the morning. Later on that day, that very day, I got a call from him between 10 and 12 o'clock, sometime between then. And his voice was full of anxiety, and he told me, son, there are a lot of people here tied up in my office asking me to pay the electricity bill and the water bill. So I said, did you promise you were going to pay that? He said, no, so then tell him you weren't elected to do that. I don't know how he does with it, because obviously we saw the world from different viewpoints. I voted at the last election I would ever voted. I voted for Mr. Winston Smiling, a POP, and Derek Aikman, a UDP, because I thought those two could work together. Well, I was wrong. But I voted. I have never voted since then. So, by 1983 December, Belize had built a system of patronage, of quid pro quo. I'll give you a vote if you give me this. The vote, the vote had become an exchange, a currency, by 1983. And Nuri, since then, in the intervening years, from time to time, I become exposed to political information of profound depth. I have had people who have confessed to me that their rent, utilities, they are given a monthly stipend to keep their name on a register, an electoral register. Remember, that's what Derek and I thought. There is a register. To keep their name on a register, they move out of the division, but to keep their name there so they can vote there, and they are paid to do that. Number of people have told me that. No man has ever told me that. It has always been women who have told me that. Maybe they are men too, I don't know. So we have a messed up system. And our people prepare to live only with drones. You know when you study Belize is like one giant sugar plantation estate. Really. And we don't look at Singapore. Singapore don't even half our acreage, our size. Look at what those people have achieved through being disciplined, through leadership, committing itself, and generally keeping its promise of not acting in a corrupt way. And when they have acted corrupt, the society has moved rapidly to bring them on the manners. Rapidly. We don't have any such situation here. Look at the sugarcane thing you just read a while ago. When you study sugarcane in this country, Nuri, it's no less extractive than it was 2025? No less extractive than it was 1725. No less extractive than it was. You're listening? Listen to the figures you gave. 14 tons to produce 1 ton of sugar. You realize how little sucrose it has in?
That's right. Absolutely.
And we are told that they are going to get $50 million from the Green Fund. I polished later, I think you were here, not to the love of what is here, and question, well, this isn't that you're objecting, but the money is going to be really used for what you are telling me it's going to be used to buy climate resilient plants and fertilize. Man, this thing is bigger than that. Way bigger than that.
Yeah.
But all we do, Nuri, is keep shoring up the economic sectors at our expense.
Yeah.
Our expense, the people's expense.
All
And
right.
we get nothing back for it.
Okay.
We don't get anything back. Belize was not present at the AI conference in Paris. We were nowhere near there. Nowhere near there. We
All
weren't
right.
there.
All right, Sister Sandra.
We ought to have been, and we could have been, had we been a more disciplined, committed, serious people. We would have been at that conference in Paris. I am upset. We were not there.
Yeah. I'll have to stop here, Sister Sandra, just because of our time constraints and our guests.
Okay, I just thought it though to
No,
make that
no, I'm
very
glad.
urgent
I'm
clarification
glad.
on
I'm glad that you did.
misunderstanding
And please call back if Mr. Enriquez comes in
well, if
later.
Mr. Enriquez comes in and does the clarification,
Yeah.
I won't need to call. I'm hoping that we'll get a full clarification.
All right, very good.
So you're questioning, you the moderator can do wonders in getting and provoking proper understanding of this matter.
We'll try.
I hope you do that. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. 25 minutes now after 7 o'clock, and we'll go now to 2 Cents Cam, and that's with Brick City. It is sponsored by Fort Point Security.
WB, and this is XTV, and welcome to See and Bite, the culture, the history, the people, and look, we find out their 2 cents about See and Bite.
This exhibition is a celebration of tradition, stories, and vibrant culture of the southern region. So I do encourage everyone to visit and to learn a lot about specifically the southern region and the beautiful Siembite village. Now we have the very newly built Siembite Culture House, where we showcase art from artists from Dangriga, Siembite, and Placencia. This art culture house showcases specifically what is known as the Southern Exhibition, and we showcase art from living and late artists. For example, we have here Mr. Pen Cayetano, and he is from Dangriga. He is well known. He is a pioneer in music and art. This specific artwork is showing the Garifuna woman dancing. And so Mr. Pen Cayetano, he is one of the creators of the famous Punta Rock, which everybody, I believe, basically know. And Mr. Penn, whew, yeah, Mr. Penn Kayaton is very talented and his family is very talented as well. His wife does needlework in Dangriga. His daughter is a well-known published writer, and his sons, they also do some form of artwork. So it's a very cultural family.
You're 2 cents.
Yeah.
All right. Will you what you as a you? That's it.
Sure. That's the violence and crime, you know. But they don't stop, right? Everything don't change. See, I'm like that the best now.
Now you're 2 cents.
Yeah.
People that sing by they talk about yo. They say if you come to sing by,
Yes.
I want one original hoodoo. Miss Burns that the best one. What are your 2 cents upon the people?
Right.
They love what they have feel.
Right there, everything fresh.
Yes.
Coconut. Is the milk. We make one and start.
Yes.
And come this side.
Okay, so we are getting a chance to go in the kitchen to see the real deal. What's some of that today special?
Well,
What are the everyday menu?
we have food,
All right.
rice and beans,
Okay.
everything fresh. Coconut milk,
Okay.
white rice, right? And then beans,
The
pork
beans.
chops.
Okay.
We have it all. Mashed potato, coleslaw. That's Dira. Big up yourself, Dira.
All right.
Big up yourself.
So, if there is one question I could ask you about Saint Bite and the history and the culture, what would you tell me something special about Saint Bite?
Well, one thing I could say, you come to see and buy the love. No matter,
Yes.
but the love. And then you come to see and buy it, and then you come to Friend's Kitchen, and we have it all.
That you're 2 cents.
2 cents.
That's thank you.
Tired of replacing light bulbs? LEDs are
campaigning?
Well, I tell you what, they just called up recently the dates for the elections. But in terms of the campaigning, it's been for the past 4 years. That
So
we've
you've
done
been
that campaign
campaigning.
on the ground working.
You stay in campaign mode.
That's right. So any politician there that expects to do some work in the next 15, 20 days, you don't win elections like that.
I see.
You do not win elections.
Well, I heard that Mr. Herrera, who was the area representative for that area for a very long time, has thrown his hat back into the ring.
So I was told.
see.
That he has thrown his
Does
hat
that
into
concern you?
Absolutely not.
No?
But nonetheless,
he was a very popular man, though.
Yes, he was. He ruled.
So you don't think
he
that
was there.
his
He was there for
popularity
can
tip you a little bit?
He did. He did serve, I believe, for 18 years.
Exactly.
Yes.
My
So
point.
but the last time when he lost his elections, he almost lost by 2-1. He did not win a single box.
I see.
Nonetheless, I will not take it for granted. As a seasoned politician that I am, I take any opponent serious.
This is your first time in, though, isn't it?
Yes, my first time.
All right. And he was in for many terms.
Yes.
So you're not taking it for granted, though?
No, of course not.
You're automatically going to get
We do
there.
not take that for granted.
All
None
right.
at all.
All
None
right.
at all.
You also had a little bit of mud. We're not going to deal with that, but a little bit of mud was thrown in your direction, and it would force the Prime Minister to give you leave. I call it leave because you were back.
Yes.
You were not dismissed and you were not fired. You were put on leave. And that matter has cleared up completely.
Absolutely.
So that is not an effect on your...
None at all.
None
at all.
I see.
What this shows here, Brother Nuri, is that I think the people of Belize also, and the Prime Minister has seen that at this point in time, that wherever he sees me fit to serve in cabinet, I do it to the best of my ability. As the former Minister of Civil Aviation, a lot was accomplished at the time when I was serving as the Minister of Civil Aviation. Now that disaster risk management is under my portfolio, actually back in last year, April, when I became the Minister of Disaster Risk Management, literally hit the ground running. Baptism by fire, if you recall those fires down south and in the mountain Pine Ridge, Nemo had to react. We had to move. Then after that came the floods and the massive rains, remember? Then came the tropical storms and a hurricane threat. So it was an extremely busy year. And then we had to work. And I take my job seriously. So all of that shows that my Prime Minister has seen, our Prime Minister has seen that the work
why
I
if
can
you
do
were
that.
doing such a wonderful job with civil aviation, why was that removed from your portfolio?
You know, that is something that the Prime Minister decides. That's not for me. Remember, you
But
serve...
normally when a Prime Minister removes an area responsibilities because you either messed up something or
No.
he feels that you're the person responsible.
No.
Well, then why?
I don't think it's a messed up. In fact,
Have
that
you
was
ever
accomplished.
seen the Prime Minister move somebody from an area that was doing an excellent job in that area?
Well, you
It
know,
just is not the political
no,
part.
you know, and that's not the political part about it. You know, I think that in terms of the movement of the civil aviation right now under his portfolio, it's his spirit. I cannot be questioning him, but I can say clearly that it was not because I was incompetent, right? But then he saw. No, let me clarify this.
I'll give you the example of what happened in immigration. Courtney was responsible for immigration, as you know. And then Belize took a very, very strong position in terms of the Palestinian issue. Very strong position. Courtney himself made some very, very strong statements at the United Nations. And soon after that, he was gone. And then the Prime Minister then took over the portfolio where Courtney was. Do you remember that?
Yes.
All right. And so normally, when these types of things take place, those of us who observe these processes say, all right, so when you were removed and the Prime Minister took over your portfolio, the question was, of course, well, Mr. Perez Nurido, why was this taken away from him? Especially when, as he is saying now, was doing such an excellent job.
Right.
So tell me again, why was it taken away?
Okay, but Nuri, let me answer you that on this way here. First of all, we don't want to get into the realm of assumptions. Reason being that if you're saying that Minister Courtney was removed because of his stance with the issue with the Palestinians, nothing has changed. It remains the same.
Yeah.
So we can't be saying
but he's no longer the minister.
Yes, of course, but that doesn't mean
that's a big drop.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the Palestinian issue, because that we cannot be assuming that he was removed because of that.
Well, I'm
right?
saying,
okay. Similarly,
he would not go to the Prime Minister and say, guess what, I'm tired of this job here, I want to move on. He was removed.
No, I don't know if he was removed, you know.
Right,
That's something.
well, okay.
Well, let me get to this. Disaster risk management is an important portfolio, extremely important. And I believe the Prime Minister saw it fit to put it to somewhere along with the blue economy, that both of them are tied together in a blue economy and disaster.
But he's not in charge of blue economy.
I am in charge of blue economy.
So
yes,
those are not together.
But to realign it, we see it, and the Prime Minister and all of us see it, that he realigned it. Putting disaster risk management next to blue economy becomes very well realigned. And last year, and until now, it shows that was the right thing to do. So it has nothing to do whether I was incompetent or not for civil aviation. Okay. As a matter of fact, in civil aviation, the installation of the 3D radar worth $8 million was done while I was serving as civil aviation. Let's not forget that. That radar, Nuri, was sitting there for many years with the previous administration, available for Belize.
So you got to
lack the political will to get that.
That's why I'm saying, why would a person, a minister, who is accomplishing so much,
let me turn it this way. The Prime Minister saw
in that area.
The Prime Minister
anyway,
saw.
I don't want to dwell on it because
of course,
I didn't ask you to come for you to defend yourself. That's not the objective.
Nuri, but
I'm
let me
just trying to
this.
get clarification. That's all.
But let me finish clarifying that, Nuri. What I see it, and I'm sure the parents see it, is that he saw my capacity. He saw my capacity in civil aviation, and he saw the need that disaster risk management needs real. And in terms of putting it to aligning it, because he saw that disaster risk management needs to be aligned, and he saw the importance of the NEMO department as well. Extremely important. And that is why he's to realigning it. And he saw me fit to take that and move forward with it, and that's what I'm doing it. That's the way I'm seeing it.
That would almost suggest that who had it before was not doing a good job, anyway, I don't want to go down those roads because there's so much more, and there's a limited time.
I want to correct because I do respect my colleague. Let me finish.
No, wait, you're directing me, and I don't want you to direct me. I want you to direct me, please. The idea of your coming here is for us to touch on a few areas, because this is our first time having you here, and I don't want it to be contentious because really, we don't want to drive you from here.
Not a problem.
We want you to be comfortable here.
I am comfortable.
You are also responsible for the blue economy.
Yes.
And as you know, even up to yesterday, we've had fishers and persons on this platform that have complained, and particularly the fishers. We had last week, I believe, one of your NGOs that has started as a result of the blue economy. And the point I brought across to them at the time was, while we are hearing some high marks, we're also hearing fishers complaining that they are not they're not getting the benefit that they thought that they would have gotten out of this blue economy, because the blue economy came with a huge amount of money that was supposed to have been distributed into all these areas that concern. So why would fishers complain that they don't feel as though they are being given the attention, resource-wise, as others?
Okay. Let me start off first, Nuri, about the blue economy, how it started. Back in 2020, when the blue economy was created, no one knew what really was the blue economy. Right? We had to engage and embark on explaining to the people and to our people that some people thought it was like is it like a political ministerial portfolio or something? Blue, yes. But really it encompasses everything what in the blue space, the blue capital, whatever we can extract from the waters to benefit our people. When we started off there, we quickly realized that the fisheries department was struggling with resources. But at the time, their hands were tied, because when we entered, and that goes back to your NGO's thing as well, and that's why our fisher folks are still feeling from that. Remember that gillnet banning that occurred?
Yes, sir.
Whereby some coalition group of one NGO and some private partners, and that happens to love fishing and wants to protect some kind of fishing and didn't like the gillnet, decided to band together to push the previous administration for gillnet ban. Not a bad thing. The banning of gillnet.
You agree with it or you don't agree?
I'll get to it right now.
It almost sounds like you don't agree with it.
Let me tell you. It's not a bad idea.
Oh, okay.
But when you introduce that, Certainly the other side of the coin is that you do not want to just displace the traditional fisher folk that does gillnet fishing, right? We can tell them that yes, it's not a good practice, but we need to offer them or provide for them alternatives. And that's where it went wrong. Offering them financial assistance to compensate is just temporary. And that is what, after a couple of times, all of these fisher folks, not all got the benefits either. Because those NGOs just went to the fisheries department and asked who are those registered fisher folks who are current. And not all those gillnet fisher folks were registered. So some got and some didn't get. It was really unevenly. And when that money finished, what happened to the fisher folks? They're coming to us and says, I can't survive.
So the money that they were drawing down on was a part of the money that came through the blue economy?
Never came through the blue economy, never came through the fisheries department.
Where was that money?
That money was...
how did it evaporate?
Okay, that money was handled by the NGOs. The fisheries department...
No, where did they get that money?
Well, that's why the NGOs get that money there. They get, I think it was $3 million.
They got it as a result of the same
Yes, the gillnet agreement.
Okay, but the government didn't handle that part.
Had nothing to do with it.
The NGOs handled that part.
Until this day.
And that is gone, you're saying?
It's gone. Until this day, no one knows who all got, how much they get. The fisheries department was never part of that.
that was your fiduciary duties to make sure that...
Well, that happened under the previous administration.
Oh, I see.
And that is what we inherited. And that is why one of the things is...
So you mean by the time government changed, that money had
disappeared?
Wow.
Yes. So we can't blame the fisheries department for that. But let me go to those NGOs. And until now, there are some NGOs that are saying fish is finning, that we're getting scared, that conch is finishing, lobster, that everything is evaporating, that the waters are getting scarce. Let me tell you something, Nuri. That again, we have some irresponsible NGOs, and I call them out for doing their work just to get benefits from people out there. But gillnet banning.
That's a very serious accusation.
It is. I will. Because
then why don't you call names since you are...
No, well, let me tell you. What they're doing right now is saying wrong information.
Who's they?
Right? Well, you know what they're saying right now. I don't want to call names.
I want to know who that they, man, because they have to respond to you and say, we heard Minister Perez this morning say so and so, and we want to counter that. But you're throwing out words there.
I want to, because there are some good NGOs.
No, but I want you to talk about the NGOs, because you sound quite sure of who you're talking about.
No, because what
those NGOs that are misleading their constituents to make them believe that the government fault why you can't get the money, when in fact they were responsible for a certain section, and that it is their fault down why these fishers did not get. I want you to name them.
All right. Brother Nuri, let me go on this way here.
All right.
The facts that we have is empirical data that the fisheries department has that says, and it's out there, that our fish stocks are very healthy, it is sustainable, and we're doing the right thing.
Okay.
Who
is saying it's not?
The fish, the NGOs, some of them are doing it. But let me finish, man. Allow me to finish. Even when they are advertising out there, one particular area they put the NGOs and even use the fisheries department as part of it. The fisheries department was never part of it. As a matter of fact, they are demanding that we provide information, which we do, but our human resources are so limited in there. We're working hard, Nuri. So, but we don't want to lose the fact about our fishers, our fisher folks.
With due respect to you, and I know that you're articulate when it comes to explaining your positions, but I'm saying to you, the question that I'm asking you is because of our audience. I've asked you 3 times, name the NGO that you're in, and you don't want to name them, but they are naming you, sir.
No, they're not naming me.
They're not naming Mr. Perez, but once they name the blue economy and those responsible,
I am saying
that's under your umbrella. I don't want to take a lot of time because it looks as though you're refusing, and it's not a legal matter.
No, it's not.
It's not. Illegal.
But I do respect the NGOs.
You say that these NGOs had a responsibility in the disbursement of the blue economy. We don't know that. Okay. We thought that it was totally your ministry that decides who. And when I was talking to that NGO last week, I was talking with that same mind that aren't you drawing this down from the blue economy to do what you're doing?
No.
But you're telling me that the blue economy is part of the reason why these fishes are not getting there.
Yes, because they got displaced, because at the time, now it's all changing, because right now we are providing, let me tell you what under the blue economy is that many benefits are coming to our fisher folks. A lot more needs to be done. For example, we're talking about artisanal fisher folks from the north. There's funds that we're providing for them, many ways to do it. So teaching our people to diversify, not only fishing. What about seaweed? What about teaching, making the same thing with you're talking about that fish that invaded us right here in this country. I'm trying, the word went out with the fish, not the kingfish, the lionfish. Lionfish. Right. We can make things with that, we can eat it, we can make a good ceviche for that, and we can make actually artisan stuff from it. So many ways to do it. So blue economy is not only fishing.
So you're doing something to try to diversify.
Yes, cottage industry is important there with the blue economy. Yeah. So and I want to do that, Barno, is to highlight the blue economy is a good ministry. Good people are the fisher folks. And the fish stocks, conch, lobster, and stone crab, everything is managing good. So, yeah.
Well, let's go to one of your other area portfolio. Sure. All right. Let's go to the fire service.
Yes.
Some of your firemen recently went out on some kind of industrial action. Has that been resolved?
Okay.
Sir?
Yes. Let me tell you.
What was it about first, and then how did you resolve it?
Okay. Let me tell you. First of all, I respect the fire department and the people that are behind there, working behind the scenes. It's a noble profession. I engaged first of all in doing a national tour of visiting the different departments, and I saw the needs. But no, I'm not blaming anyone in the past. This is something that happened for the past 20 years that has been neglected. So we went to work. We realized that there's much needed equipment. We remember that we don't have a fire station here officially. They're all just temporary at the Marion Jones. So all in all, that has been generating low morale. You can see the firefighters, they don't have a place that they can call home, or this is my station.
So they went on an industrial action last week.
They did, I don't know if I can call it industrial action, but they did manifest.
They slowed down, and it affected their response to a particular fire, so it became an issue.
As far as I'm concerned, there was a good response to it. Everything shows that there was no slowdown in tackling that fire. So I beg to differ with that, sir.
All right.
But let me tell you that. Yes, there were some firefighters that expressed their concerns.
I spoke to one of them.
Yes, I spoke to several of them.
And they seem to be saying that they felt, not just your administration, but they feel that they are not being given attention.
Okay.
They don't got no fire, sir. Some of the equipment is falling down. Every time they get something, that's something where somebody getting, we're falling apart, and they have to come here, inherit it with all kind of repairs. And that they've been knocking on the door of ministers repeatedly, including yours, and don't feel that they're getting satisfaction. So I don't think that they're coming crazy.
Yeah, they have a right to speak about Nuri. And as a matter of fact, when we spoke with them, sat down in my CU, and as well as the Public Service Union was there as well, and they heard their concerns, legitimate concerns.
Yes.
And they made it clear there that they acknowledged the work that we have done. As the minister, they said they have nothing against the minister. They made it clear right there in the public service. No. They said they appreciate the work that we have been doing, but it seems to be an issue within a power struggle.
You mean within the department?
Yes, because they chose to go and speak without the hierarchy or the top of the fire department. They deliberately went there to speak without including the fire chief in there. So we saw these things there, and out of that came more allegations about certain things that are missing. And that is where our ministry decided to do an audit, which we are doing right now. And I made it clear, and I've said it before in other medias, if there's anything wrongdoing there, we will stop at nothing, let the laws and let the Public Service Commission take over and investigate. But all in all, we are engaging with them. They do know that we are speaking with them. And in terms of their overtime as well, yes, rightfully we have to realign those things. And we're getting a new intake as well, because it's spread thin. We need to get more firefighters. Yes, and we've gotten the funding for that as well. That's important. So
the overtime that they're complaining about, that has been resolved?
Yes, it has been resolved.
Okay.
It has been resolved, but then again, we want to make clear to them because some of them firefighters are making up to double the amount, right? And that in the ministry was being raised. I said, listen, how can one person get double the amount in overtime? Which is okay, they're earning it, but it goes again the spread of human resources. You spread thin yourself. So that is where we have an intake right now of 23 firefighters, and I think an additional one that's going to be another 30 firefighters. More jobs, more investment. The funding also, we're securing the funding which disappeared, is to build that fire station for those firefighters. We need a brand new fire station.
That
we have acquired the land.
Monies for the
salaries has been.
It disappeared.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. Well, you know when it goes into
You're
that.
Talking about the previous administration.
Yes. Remember the Cleghorn Street building that was sold to the Atlantic Bank? Remember?
Yeah.
All right. That money was put and said that is a set aside a certain amount to build a new fire station.
Right. Which ended up in Marion Jones.
That's right.
So you're saying money was allotted for that, and that money disappeared.
So we have to go look for this one.
What do you mean disappear?
It gone into the consolidated fund, that dark hole, under the COVID time. Money gone.
All right.
So now
so
we
it
have
never
to
disappeared dishonestly. It just was
disappeared.
Reapportioned in another direction.
That's right.
But you keep this gone, man.
Gone means no, that money should have been placed in a trust fund or something specifically allocated for that.
So they shouldn't have been returned to the consolidated fund.
Of course.
You are also responsible for NEMO and for the Met Office, and they have come under a lot of criticism, of course. One of the criticisms that have been levied is that you have purged out certain highly qualified individuals there. For example, the persons who were over NEMO. I could remember Colonel Defoe. The way in which those persons were phased out and new persons were phased in created some concern at NEMO. You're not familiar with what
I cannot recall of any purging occurring in the Ministry of NEMO, in the NEMO department. I do not know aware of any purging. In terms of Colonel Defoe, a very respectable person. His term was over. His term was over. That's it. He was not asked to leave or so, and then came in Captain Mendes.
So he said he would leave.
No, his term was ended.
I'm saying when his term is ended, most times when you have a very highly qualified person, they're rolled over, they're renewed.
Listen.
Was it your decision that he not be renewed?
But remember I came in and take over the disaster response.
I know that the Governor General's husband has taken over in that area, right?
Yes, and he's highly qualified. Highly qualified.
Well, I'm not questioning. I don't know him. I don't know his qualification. But it is important for people who are observing these processes that they see transparency and they see that everything is moving as smoothly as possible in these areas. And we were very concerned. I was very concerned. And the high level of qualification of Colonel Defoe in such a sensitive position, who has been doing a job for umpteen decades. So, I had to ask you that because that is your area, your comments. Sir.
Yes, okay. But remember when I took over in April, I met Captain Mendes there, so I wasn't able to work. I did not work with Colonel Defoe. I worked with him as part of cabinet to work along with us to give us the advice that he normally NEC does, which is the National Emergency Coordinator.
Right.
By all aspects, everything was good with him, but when his term is up, we replaced him with someone else, and that is Captain Mendes. So that's the person I've been working since last April.
Nice.
But in terms of purging, there's no other thing else. Every single person there is still working. Everybody in there that we're placing, there's no such word as purging as a strong word to define.
Yeah, it's a strong word.
No purging.
When
no
you come
purging.
out, we try to use some very strong words so that we can get shaved to the point. Let's give you some final thoughts, Minister Perez. You certainly are full of a lot of energy.
Thank you.
And I know you to be a person who goes after trying to accomplish whatever you have in front of you. So I'll give you a last word. It is campaign season, so I'll ask you to stay away from the campaigning. But in terms of your responsibility of your ministries and your constituent responsibility, I'll give you a final word.
Sure. I'll start first as speaking as a minister, Nuri. The most important thing is that I consider it a privilege to serve in cabinet, and that is something that I take very seriously. And that means that it is important for me to engage with all those relevant departments to my ministry. Starts with my CEO, and I commend my CEO for the work that she does as well, and everyone else there, that they know that in their ministry they can get in contact with their minister, speaking with them, all the different departments. And I take pride in it to really engage with them. It means a lot to me. Now, also as a politician, you must understand something here. 2 jobs. Being an area representative is 1 job. When they invite you to serve in cabinet is another job. And oftentimes, many politicians take that into mistakes to blend these 2 and can become fatal at the end of the day when elections come by. I've learned.
Like 2 wives.
Exactly.
Pay attention to the 2 others.
I don't know if I can use that analogy. But anyway, any politician who understands that you have 2 jobs and you do these 2 jobs and separate those 2, you're always going to go forward. And that is what I've done. I've done the work as well as the area representative to listen to my people. Remember, I serve the 3rd largest constituency in this entire country. And I take it very seriously. Each and every voter and the residents of San Pedro and Kikaka, I am privileged to serve the people, very industrious people. They do a lot. They contribute a lot to the tourism sector for this and growing this economy. So we are an engine that push. And I am very grateful to serve these people. The community, we work together. They understand that not only government will do things, it's working, private sector, government, and the municipality, everyone working together. Much is produced right now. So I can highlight to you that in the last 4 years, we have done so much as compared to what 18 years was not done. The many promises of a hospital. Every time election comes, the hospital is going to start, the hospital is going to start. That became an empty promise. People are so, we're never going to get a hospital. Now, as we speak right now, a hospital is being built. $30 million has been secured, thanks to the good people of the Republic of China, Taiwan. We're building a $30 million hospital. Yesterday, the Prime Minister and I did a tour of the place, and it's coming along beautiful. And that hospital is going to serve both San Pedro and Kikaka. So we're very excited about that. We've done a lot of paving, 9 miles of road, the health center in Kikaka. A lot has been accomplished there, Brother Nuri. So
you look like you come ready.
I come ready.
All right,
I come ready.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Let's do that good polemics and we can handle.
For being here, and we hope that maybe post-election, if you're elected, then maybe we'll be able to bring you back and we can elaborate if you still have some of these portfolios.
I can always make time for that, Brother Nuri.
All right,
thank you for the invite.
And I thank you also very much. We have our next guest already in studio. We'll take a short break and we'll come right back and engage him. right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on a very excited Thursday morning, the 20th day of February 2025. Our guest now is Mr. Jerry Enriquez. He was here last week talking about their lawsuit that they've taken the government to court to get the government to rectify something that is in the Constitution, that is that we are supposed to ensure over a period of time that our divisions are as close to equal as possible. This has not been so for over 2 decades. And so there's been this back and forth with government being, in fact, taken to court to try to address this matter. The Belize Peace Movement has done that, if we can remember, over the last couple of years. But about a month ago, I believe, this new group, headed by Mr. Jerry Enriquez, and with the attorney Anand Ram Logan from Trinidad, has once again brought a case before the courts. And so we have Mr. Enriquez here to give us the detail of what has happened as a result of their lawsuit. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Brother Nuri.
Let's get right into it because of time, and I wanted to have maybe the last 15 minutes left open in case anyone wants to call. We did get a call from Ms. Coy this morning inquiring about the case itself. So let's hear from you as to, you made the presentation. During the session itself, there was this hiccup where your attorney called into question statements which his assistant in Trinidad told him he heard, and then it became an issue wherein now Mr. Courtney has come forward and made certain statements against your attorney and saying that he's going to complain to a counsel in regards to your attorney's behavior. And then now we're also being told that disparaging remarks were made in the media towards you. And so now it's becoming a big question as to where are we when it comes to this matter, when it is a constitutional position that the sitting government, PUP, as well as the UDP, have all acknowledged that this must be done. But we undo it when we get in.
Right.
So we've gone through that thing with UDP for 13 years and more.
Yeah.
And then now, and it's more because it was even before UDP came in that it was due for this redivisioning. Yeah. And now we have it one more time that your group is trying to advance it. So please, bring us up to date.
We took the matter to the Supreme Court. And let me caution first that there's a lot of side shows that are going on that will distract the core essence of what we're fighting for. And these side shows could balloon and dilute the issue. Just as I saw, well, I'll get to the judgment shortly, but I just want to caution people to stay focused. The issue is that we're going into another election with a vastly imbalanced electoral divisions. That is the core issue. All these other things about trying to distract, I try not to get into that because I want people to remain focused on what the goal is. The government of Belize, the current administration, promised, even before they got in fact, they rushed to court to block an injunction in 2020, October 2020. And as soon as they blocked it on the basis that elections were underway, but when we get in, we're going to correct it. And we see what has happened. They have not corrected these imbalances, and they are in fact, they are insistent in many ways in leaving it as it is. And that was revealed even in the affidavit of the Prime Minister when he said and when he swore that around Christmas time, he and his close colleagues, his advisors, thought that they should hold election in March. the weather is good in March and whatever other reasons. But never did they think about we in December also to say, hey boy, we still no fix the electoral divisions yet, let us do it. So it shows that they had no concern to fix the severe imbalances in our electoral division. So that revelation itself speaks volumes to the lack of commitment by the Prime Minister himself to ensure that that he fixed these imbalances in line with the Constitution, the constitutional requirement. He had up to even November. As a matter of fact, when there were city council elections, I spoke with the candidates, the mayoral candidate and his team. When they were campaigning, they went to my house and they asked, what are my concerns?
This is Belmopan?
This is in Belmopan. I mentioned top of the list, redivisioning of our malapportioned electoral division. And they said, even March, it was March 2024 when they had the city council election. And they said with no doubt, they told me that it will not be done. It cannot be done until after the general elections.
So you're being told this by campaign people at that?
Yeah, those campaigning.
Both candidates?
The PUP candidates came to my house and they mentioned, you know, we can't do that until next election. So from then
what would be their reasoning then if prior to them coming into government in 2020, they had already intimated that, well, we can do that when we
I took that to mean that across the party or those who are in closer association with the higher-ups of the party, they already knew that it was not going to be done. So I read into that there was, that commitment was cemented, that it will not happen. And then the Prime Minister, even when he made his report that, well, it was Christmas time, we made a decision to have it in March. It was not a decision to say there is still something wrong with our electoral divisions. Before elections, let us find a way to correct it. So the excuse that keeps coming up is to blame the Elections and Boundaries Commission and that everybody else did not agree with the proposal because the proposal did not resolve the problem. And so because that did not happen, everybody sat on it and just waited for elections and then to promise we will do it again next election. We have lost total faith in this system. It's a group of persons. I will have to watch my language. Right? Yeah, it's a group of persons who are insisting on creating this kind of a dynasty and to hell with the rest of the country. And the people in southern Belize, for example, have suffered that for so many years. Inadequate representation. And so you could see the impact on development in those areas and on the people. So,
all right, I want to continue along that narrative, but I want to correct something that came up as a result of yesterday's broadcast and also Ms. Koy asking this morning about it. And that is about a $30,000 award that it's either been given or it's just 30,000.
Yeah, I need to clear that. There is no award yet granted by the court. There's no judgment of cost. We don't know. The reason that let me start.
Okay.
The reason that we're raising those funds in the GoFundMe site is that we have an attorney from Trinidad who is also hiring other attorneys to help to do to manage the case, do the research, get all the documents. It was crunch time, and they need to be paid also. So there are all these costs that are involved, even though, of course, we cannot afford to pay such an attorney, just as the ones that we have in Belize.
Is he doing it free?
He's doing it pro bono.
Wow.
But there are other costs of travel. If we have to fly him in and host him, depending on the case, there are costs associated with those who are already doing the work for him at his law firm in Trinidad. they are not the pro bono ones.
Yeah.
So those are the costs that need to be met. And then...
So this $30,000, because it was thrown out there.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
That was an estimate of what those costs will be for this case.
So that came from your camp?
That came through discussions with him.
A suggestion came that it may be 30,000.
And we need to be ready
So
to meet this cost. Yeah, it's not a court order or anything. It is his estimate, and so it might be more or it could be less.
Yeah.
If it is less and we have that other amount, we could also give it to.
So this 30,000 is not the court.
It's not.
But that 30,000 is still a reality because it's money that has to be raised to pay for the cost.
And if there's a court cost, then
so whether the court says it or not, 30,000.
We have to be ready. We have to be ready for meeting all costs.
Yeah.
Is the thing. So.
And how much have you raised so far?
About the last I checked, it was about a little over 2,500.
That's not much money for it.
Yeah. So what is happening right now is that we're just running on bills. For example, even I do not have anything to get from that that 30,000. I am incurring my own costs. Photocopying materials and up and down, all those things. So that's my own contribution.
Did you get a sense that people with the wherewithal have taken an interest in the case, or because ordinary people were broke?
Yeah.
Until go ahead. We're there with you. But we can't make no contribution, not even one.
And they are, in fact, but they're the most encouraging.
Those are
actually, they're most encouraging.
Please, go ahead. I can't give you nothing.
Yeah, they're most. The one others are I haven't heard from many others. But
you need money to do these things. Unfortunately, it's the world we live in. So what will be happening now that we are less than 20 days away, 25 days away from
the judgment of the past case? Dealt with a lot of procedural matters, which I was very disappointed about, given the crunch time that we had. Note that first we wrote a letter to the Attorney General to remind them that calling an election under the status quo is unconstitutional. It violates the very essence and principles established in Section 90 of the Constitution. We wrote also to the Prime Minister. This was before election was called, to alert them, man, please do something. We can't consider an election under these same conditions, which you have promised to correct. And when we heard that they were calling elections, we had to rush through to prepare affidavits. We had to prepare everything that is necessary for filing in the court, trying to get it in time before the election was called. And then, even so, in that marathon sprint, there were lots of flaws in the way. So the judgment, about half the judgment said, well, we question the legitimacy of the signature. We question a lot of procedural matters. The date did not coincide at the top of the paper and the bottom of the paper. That was a focus right through the first half.
Was the judge noting?
Yeah, the judge noting all of this
he was quite a copyright editor, wasn't he? Because he saw some small things that only an editor would see.
In detail, that he covered that. So, and then in his substantive judgment, he was saying that we did not present, in a sense, let me quote what it says. The claimants who bear the burden of proof have not demonstrated a prima facie case that those electoral boundaries are unconstitutional or are likely to be declared unconstitutional following a full adversarial hearing of the main matter. So we did not demonstrate that the boundaries are unconstitutional. So we had to...
How could you not have shown that the boundaries are unconstitutional when the numbers of the divisions are already fixed and it is already malapportioned. So how could it not be when in fact it is?
I will need to go through in more detail what the judgment says. I have to dissect it more clearly, but that kind of it boggles my mind. The essence of the case.
Just as you're saying it to me now, how could he say that you have not proven something that even before you took up the case, it was already established that it is malapportioned? How could he say you have not Anyway, let's move on to the next question is that your attorney is suggesting that in Odonia, he will carry this thing all the way to the CCJ. Are you saying then that the CCJ can make a decision based on an electoral process that was unconstitutional to then declare it at a regional court that this is unconstitutional, therefore telling the government, back up, we're going to do that thing again, and then when we're going to do it again, then we're going to do an election? Is that even conceivable?
Here's my concern, then I'll get to that question. Where do the people turn when you have governments consistently trampling upon them, violating the Constitution, finding ways to avoid and to resist making right of what the Constitution is? Where do we turn to the courts? When you have all of these stringent regulations within the court system, especially if you're doing it in a limited amount of time, you need to afford the attorneys and all of that, and the government is using top attorneys to fight the will of the people. Where do we turn to? And so that's one to consider. It's something that is why the status quo continues to remain. The government could continue to ignore the Constitution of Belize and get away with it. So what happens? Where do people turn to? And so we intend to file this. This is like something very new. Where do we turn to have the spotlight placed on governments in Belize and all over the Caribbean to say, you have to follow the Constitution of your country? It cannot, in my view, it doesn't happen necessarily within our own country, because over and over the government could find excuses and legal loopholes to say, well, it's the Elections and Boundaries Commission. Why don't you fire them if they're not doing their job, for example? Or where do people turn?
But they were not hired. This commission was appointed.
Yeah, I mean, what? Change them, or
how do you just?
Or to tell them.
Yeah, so pull the plug. Pull the plug,
something to call them. So if they're not accountable, the government is not accountable.
Let's take this next break, and when we come back, we're going to open the phone lines, because I see a call is already calling in, and we will open the phone lines so you could get a couple of questions into Mr. Enriquez. So we'll take the break now.
In Belize, we value
All right, welcome back. Our guest in studio is Mr. Jerry Enriquez. As you know, he is one of the main protagonists in this court case that they're bringing before the government. Really, just saying that the government should do what the Constitution says that government should. But he has come under the line of fire. He's placed himself in a tiger mouth, actually. And I'm sure that you're receiving a number of physical and personal pressure from taking this stand. Because we know easy with people who come out in public, that we will slaughter you with things we don't even know about, right? Yeah. How are you dealing with that? Because I hear that your character is being, like, when they try to throw dirty water upon you. How are you dealing with it?
These things are expected. If you look at the history of human and societal transformation, there will always be those situations where the persons who are advocating for transformation and change will be targeted in many ways. I know that, I've seen that, and so I'm okay. I'm with all that is going on, I'm really okay. I'm not worried at all. Yeah, I'm quite okay.
Stand the fire.
Yeah,
welcome, caller.
Good morning, Nuri. Good morning, Mr. Enriquez. This is Sandra Corey. Nuri said that you would be in studio. I haven't caught everything you said because I was otherwise engaged. I can't speak for anybody else except myself. Before I move to the questions, I would like some things clarified.
Yes.
Because the press didn't do a complete job of that clarification. You have gone to court on the issue of the constitutionality of an election being carried out without adherence to the constitutional requirement for divisioning, the divisioning of the populace of the country into units, voting units, almost equal or almost equal in size, up to a limited amount. That's right or wrong?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. But while you're doing that, and it was known you were doing that, elections were declared. And because of that, you then addressed as an interim measure the elections and sought an injunction to put a hold on the elections, right?
That is correct, yes.
Until your matter was heard.
Yes.
Okay. That clarifies that definitely for me. In the rulings, did the judge decide on costs of 30,000?
No, there was no decision on costs. What we
That's
did.
my understanding now.
Right.
I haven't yet read the ruling, but that is what I was told. So that needs a clarification, you see, because yesterday, I can't speak for anybody, I got involved in the discussion on the understanding that the costs had already been decided on and might even be expanded upon, and so therefore passed the opinion that what we had here was an exemplary penalty. Similar, not necessarily, I am not saying that it was done in the way it was done in slavery, but the effects are the same, the consequences are the same. In slavery, when a slave committed an infraction in the chattel slavery in the New World, their hand might be chopped off, their foot might be chopped off, their baby might be killed in front of them. All that sort of thing was done, right?
Yes.
And that was done as an example so that anybody else thinking of committing the infractions they were accused of would change their minds. So it was an exemplary penalty. But then later on in the day, because that bothered me, I found out that the
That is correct. What we were doing even before the court case was to raise funds to be able to afford all the other legal costs. For example, those who assisted.
Just to get a copy of a case from the court, it's $7 per page.
Well, for example, photocopy materials that I did, which is not a part of it, is about $800 so far of just copying documents. So all these costs come up, but it's not just my cost, which I will not include in that 30,000. It is the other legal costs that the attorney has his assistants doing research, doing copying, and all of that. Those are other costs that are not associated with his pro bono service. Yeah, so that's why we're raising
so
those
where did the amount of 30,000 actually come from?
The precise time that Mose read, and later on a part of the ruling that I still now have to go through myself, indicated that whereas under certain sections of the court procedure rules of procedure, an administrative matter, you would not assign costs. There are sections where you cost may be assigned in an administrative matter, as in the request for the injunction, and they cite 2 instances. And are you now expecting that those 2 instances, the matter will be evaluated under those 2 instances in the matter of cost for the preliminary, this interim injunction?
Yes, there will be I think there is a discussion about cost that will follow this this court decision. Yes.
On the basis of the 2 caveats to the non-application generally, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, now you see that's extremely curious because what is stated in the law, in the rules, makes it sound that if somebody arrives at the court on a frivolous matter and wastes the court's time,
yes,
then they ought to be penalized for such action. And my question is, as I said to Mo yesterday, so it seems it was thrown out on technicalities. It wasn't thrown out, they refused, and now I want to go to another case, Mr. Enriquez, that you might want to research. Dominica went to court, the CCJ, on the matter of the issue of electoral reform. Now what angle they had and took, I am going to research. But they went to the CCJ, and the CCJ, they had a long history of battling to get reform. And that battle came out of things such as election observers who came and said this is wrong with your process, you ought to correct it, and all the other things that they were observed. And so they ended up at the CCJ. And the CCJ ruled in the ruling that Dominica ought not to go to elections until the taints had been eliminated. The taints, the wrong things had been eliminated. They ought not to go to election. Now, in the media, the word was ought. I don't know if that is the word used in the ruling itself, but I know definitely that the ruling reflects an advice to the government of Dominica. Do not proceed to elections if you haven't corrected X clause.
Yes.
And that applies to us because remember, we operate on the principle of case law, precedent law.
Yes.
So that Dominica case becomes a precedent for us. And they were advised, don't go to any elections. And as a consequence, they went to election anyway. Now, what it ended up with was the opposition boycotting the election. You asked a question a while ago, where do you turn?
Yes.
And if the ruling group is elected on a wrong basis, then how in heaven's name the house will be built properly? Your foundation is already wrong.
Exactly.
And that's what we have. And Dominica they're still fighting. The fight reached a climax in 2024. You see? But I think you might want to investigate that case, Mr. Henriquez.
As a matter of fact, that case has been cited by by attorney, and that is the basis for which we are also. Yes, and he's we've discussed that. So we're looking very closely at that, and that is part of why we're appealing to push this through, because as you mentioned, the foundation that we're laying is horribly wrong, and these politicians insist on keeping it. Unfortunately, our opposition, both parties are a part of it, and they're drawing the people into a fraudulent. Well, and three parties, and they're drawing. In fact, they are also campaigning to be a part of an election that is fraudulent. So they're drawing the population into some. Yeah.
In the case of Dominica, in the same vein of the argument you just made, where the return, the people then took it to another level. Bearing in mind that when a government fails to honor and respond to a people's clamor, it's only a matter of time. At times, you and I may not be here, but there will come a day of reckoning.
Yes.
Similar to the French Revolution, no different. Okay, Mr. Enriquez.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the clarification. I feel it was very important. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much too.
Let's take this last break, and then we'll come back and get some final comments. have people outside who are speaking truth to power. Because that's what keeps you away from being Mr. Trump and a monarch and a dictator and an oligarch. If you're going to not give people the opportunity to express themselves and come down hard on people just because they have a different opinion, then we're moving towards silencing our people. And that's not a kind of culture that we want in Belize. So we want to acknowledge you, Mr. Enriquez, because you have taken a position and you have not tried to declare yourself PUP or UDP. You have done it on the basis of your citizenry, and that is to be commended. So we give you a final word now. Please tell us what is next, and you know, just.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna test this case as far as we could go to ensure that we do not revisit at any time any group of dynastic families trying to have a stranglehold of the country and not respecting the Constitution and looking at the country in an inclusive way for national development. So that's one. Secondly, I appeal to people, this is not something we could just sit apathetically and continue to watch. We cannot sit by and just watch this going on. We need your voice, you organizations who appear to be comfortable and not caring about anything, civil society organizations, institutions, the Bar Association. This is a critical issue. The Constitution is violated, and we need to find ways to give voice in order to terminate it. We came out of a colonial structure and system that is still deeply embedded in how we are governing the country. We haven't really transformed above our own 200 years of our colonial experience, and yet we have these new kind of post-colonial rulers who see themselves as king and want to lord it over the people and disrespect the supreme law of the country. That has to stop. We cannot continue. Finally, we need to keep focus on the issue. This issue is not a PUP, UDP, or all the other P's issue. It is a national issue of a constitutional crisis we need to keep focused on. We cannot allow the politicians to, if I may use this term, they wiggle waggle like Lee mosquito in a swamp to try to not to keep us not focused on the issue. All kinds of nasty diversions, blaming the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and all kinds of ways to evade the core issue. We're still at the same place we started, and even worse, to have severe imbalances in electoral divisions. That has to be corrected. Otherwise, the foundation of our democracy, or what they claim to be our democracy, is based on lies, it's based on greed, it's based on all of these things, and it is illegal and unlawful. People are not voting in an equal and fair elections.
Thank you very much, Mr. Enriquez, for reiterating, actually bringing this point over and over. And just to give you a strong example of what is being spoken of here, Mr. Andre Perez, who is the area representative for the Belize Rural South, has approximately 10,000 plus constituents in his constituency. 10,000 plus. Yet you take a Fort George or you take a Mesa and you look at the numbers of persons in those constituencies, and you will see that it is not even half of what Mr. Perez is dealing with. So you're dealing with one constituency that is as much as 10,000, and you have another constituency
about 2,500.
that's a little bit more than 2,500. How could that be fair? How could you say that you have equal representation if you have one constituency with a representative who only has to answer to 2,500 people and another one who has to answer to 10,000 people? So, I mean, it's not very difficult. It's really an elementary issue that is tied up in our political culture, and that is really what is being spoken of here.
It ought to be just common sense, actually.
It is.
The politicians are not...
and it ought to be something that takes place automatically
Yeah.
and not left for a political decision. But we are evolving through our process. We haven't gotten there yet, but we are moving in that direction. We will get there. Thank you very much, Brother Enriquez, for being here with us. We normally bring you on to discuss wellness. Good meditation.
We have to look at the wellness of the nation too.
This is
this
the
is a
wellness
part
of
of
the
our
nation.
wellness. Yeah.
We need to pause and meditate a little bit before we move forward.
And I still do that, definitely.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, we want to thank Mr. Cliff Lewis today for his work that he does here. Also, Alexi Bilad is our MCO this morning. And mostly, we thank Minister Perez for being with us, and also Mr. Enriquez, Sister Sandra, who is always a mainstay here with us, and those who call in to make sure that we keep WUB relevant every morning. Belizeans, stand strong and stand firm. Don't be shakery. This is not a shakery kind of time. And do the right thing. For now, with God!
This is...
Wake up, Belize. 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 Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show of people. Belize our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. Is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes.